evening, roller derby fans. We are here at Track 3 at Big O 2019.
This is game 6 at Track 3 today, second day of the Big O. We have two men's team about to be playing.
That we do. We are going to see a game here between the Philadelphia Hooligans and the San Diego Aftershocks. This is a very special call here on Track 3, as our sound is going both out to you all in the stands and, of course, the internet at large.
Let's talk to everybody about what we've got for players this go-round, Rich.
Oh, let's do it, Regrettal.
Why don't you tell us about the Philadelphia Hooligans?
I think I'll do that. So, Philadelphia Hooligans ranked 12 in MRDA in the black. We've got number 109, Cilantro, number 11, Numchuck, number 25, Uncle Dad, number 40, Juke of Hearts, number 58, Schuler, number 666, Soulless Samurai, number 899, General So Fine, and number 90, Betty Switch.
And in white this game, San Diego Aftershocks 1-1-3-4, Just Dave, 2-3 Quasimodo, 3 Culture Shock, 3-0-0 Kilkenny M Falcon, 3-3-3 True Blocka, 3-4 Dirty 5, 4 Retro, 4-1-5 Bad Billy, 4-4 Rocco Marciano, 5 Boo, 6-9 Mr. Dick, 7-8 T-Dog, 8-3 Stevie Wonder.
So we've seen a bit of performance from these teams this weekend. Both have played a game earlier today. San Diego played against Puget Sound, taking a loss there, as well as the Philadelphia Hooligans going after Denver. Did not pull the win out there, so we'll see. One of these teams is going to walk away from today with a win. We will find out in about an hour and a half. So we are lining up, ready to start this jam off.
In black, Jam 1, we have 2-5 Uncle Dad, 3-4 Dirty 5.
And Dirty 5 out to take a quick lead jam for San Diego, but Uncle Dad is hot on his heels.
Both jammers nearing the back of the pack. Scoring passes for both of them. White has lead, but black is first through the pack with points. That is 4 points to Philadelphia.
Right, you are. So Dirty 5 now with 2 to beat at the front of the pack. That's going to be Numchuck and Betty Switch. He does break through, picks up 4 points. Uncle Dad going to call off the jam. That's going to be 2 points up for the Hooligans on that pass, 4 for San Diego, leaving us with a 6-4 jam in favor of the Hooligans. I'd like to give a quick shout out to our officials for this game: Kirian Duncan, Genuine, Killikee, Adam Smasher, Robin You Blind, Elkie Holick, Mass, Strong Female Character, Rabid Derby Fan, Amy Farrell Fowler, The Spanish Inquisition, William Moore, Wizard of Laws, Decider, Slash Dancer, and Andy Oakley.
We have the clock stopped with a 4 whistle there.
Right, going to be a quick official timeout to make sure we've got all of our I's dotted and T's crossed. Assuming nothing changes, looks like we've got 2 skaters for the Hooligans in the box. San Diego's sitting at full strength.
Waiting for the next jam, lined up at that jam line, number 300 Kilkenny M Falcon against 2-5 Uncle Dad. Uncle Dad playing 2 back-to-back jams. Philly playing with a shorter roster this game. We've got 8 skaters on Philly. Philly ranked 12. San Diego ranked below them at number 16, but they are stronger when it comes to numbers on the track today with 13 skaters.
It's going to be an exciting matchup. Looking forward to having this unfold in front of us.
We are speaking to the best of our ability with the sound as it has been set, and thank you for your feedback. That jam has started. Like I said, number 300 Kilkenny M Falcon in white. 2-5 Uncle Dad is lead for the black.
And Kilkenny M Falcon out through the in rather, gonna now be eligible to score points. Uncle Dad through for 4, gonna keep it all rolling though. Kilkenny M Falcon up at the front, does get by Schuler on the turn 3-4 apex. Uncle Dad not yet satisfied with his points, now satisfied. or at least ready to end the jam. That's going to be a 4-4 jam. Brings our score to Philadelphia 10, San Diego 8.
We're 2 jams in. We're looking at 2 new jammers lined up on the jammer line there. 6-9 in white, that is Mr. Dick. 9-0 in black, that is Betty Switch.
So the Hooligans will go into this jam with a 4-2 pack advantage. 2 blockers in the box for San Diego, and a quick lead jam assessed to Betty Switch for the Hooligans.
That's 2 in a row for the Hooligans. This is now a power jam, a penalty assessed to Mr. Dick.
So that's going to be a block with the head penalty that'll send him to the penalty box. So power jam now for Betty Switch and the Hooligans.
Betty already with 4 points on the board for the Hooligans on their second scoring pass.
Betty up at the front with 1 to beat. General So Fine getting number 5 for San Diego out of the way. That was boot. 4 points up for Philadelphia.
Those 4 points on that last scoring pass make this the highest scoring jam so far. Here we are in jam 3.
San Diego jammer Mr. Dick now out of the penalty box. Back in effect, has completed the initial pass. Betty Switch up the inside, lands it. Gonna call off the jam. Big jam there for the Hooligans. 16 points total, holding San Diego down to 0.
The Hit This Derby gear is the exclusive skate shop for the Big O. Before you hit the track, hit this.
Seeing a similar situation to the start of this jam as the last one. 2 blockers in the box for San Diego. Coming off the line, it's Uncle Dad versus Dirty 5, and Uncle Dad takes lead jam with Dirty 5 hot on his heels.
4 jams into this game. Uncle Dad has jammed 75% of them. That's 3 jams so far for Uncle Dad. Quick haul off to try to protect any points. 4 go to white, 3 to black.
Each team with a single blocker in the box to start off jam number 5. But the Hooligans are looking for an official review here. So we're going to take a moment to let the team plead their case, and we'll turn things over to Kieran Duncan and the officials team to bring us the updates.
We can start to see a little bit of how Philadelphia is going to work with this short line of theirs. We see as we're waiting for this next jam to start, Betty Switch has taken the star this time and given the stripe to Uncle Dad. They seem to be passing those back and forth between them. With being that there's only 8 skaters total for Philadelphia, they may be relying on that jammer pivot duo throughout this entire game.
Absolutely. It was something that we saw them use to great effect against the Denver team earlier this morning. So you see a lot of jammers actually ending up having to go for multiple jams in a row as the game goes on. We'll take things down to Kieran Duncan for an update.
Philadelphia were challenging the insubordination call on Black 5-8. The call will stand for remaining on the track for too long.
So that is a penalty assessed to Black 5-8. Schuler, they will sit in the penalty box as this next jam begins.
Lining up on the Derby Warehouse jammer line, we see number 6-9 for San Diego in the white. That's Mr. Dick. Up against number 9-0 for Philadelphia in the black. That's Betty Switch.
Number 3, Culture Shock, at the beginning of that jam, squatted down so low, almost sitting on the track, giving him the opportunity to pop up and slow down Betty Switch. That has worked a little bit. Betty was held at the back. Inside line wide open, though. Get through. That gets them a cut track penalty. That line wasn't so wide after all. Lead goes to white.
So this will be the first lead jam of the game for the San Diego Aftershocks. I'm sorry, the second lead jam of the game. Mr. Dick trying to get through on the outside, but is going to meet with some resistance in the way of General So Fine. However, the General goes out, so Mr. Dick right back in, picks up 4 points for the Aftershocks.
Recycled from hit to the inside and then recycled back. That was 8-9-9. General So Fine right back on the track to do some hitting to the outside, trying to slow down that white jammer. 4 blocks went to white. San Diego Aftershocks.
So San Diego tried to call off that jam before the Philadelphia jammer was able to be released from the penalty box. However, things happened just around the same time, so Betty Switch was released from the penalty box. We'll be going right back up to that jammer line. Number 58 for the Hooligans, Schuler, still starting from the box, though standing, so he'll be back in the action shortly. Aftershocks are at full strength as Kilkenny M. Falcon goes up to jam. Betty Switch through to take lead jam for the Hooligans. Kilkenny forced to the outside, will recycle back to the pivot line.
The second time on the track jamming for Kilkenny, but the first time against Betty Switch. Betty Switch having to face all of those white blockers at the front, looking for some offensive help from number 2-5, Uncle Dad. That offense lends itself well, 4 points to Philadelphia.
Forearm penalty being assessed against Hooligan skater number 11, Numchuck. Send him off to the penalty box.
Looking at Kilkenny M. Falcon at the front of that pack as that jam ends.
So that will be a 6-0 jam for the Hooligans. Brings the score up to San Diego 19, Philadelphia 35, as we roll into jam number 7.
The social media team is working feverishly all weekend to bring you live tweets and Facebook coverage throughout this event.
If you'd like to get in on the conversation with that social media, use the hashtag BigO2019. Getting back down to the Derby Warehouse jammer line. Dirty 5 wears the star for San Diego in the white, up against Uncle Dad for Philadelphia in the black. A lot of bodies hitting the floor in turn 1. Out first, though, is Dirty 5. Lead jam assessed to the Aftershocks.
These teams trading leads as we are at jam 7. 3 leads so far to San Diego.
Uncle Dad now breaking free of the pack, threatening to score points. Dirty 5 ain't going to have any of those shenanigans, though. Calls off the jam. 2 points picked up by the Aftershocks on that pass. And 0 up for Philadelphia. That'll make this a 14-point game, 21-35 in favor of the Hooligans.
Number 6-9, Mr. Dick lined up for San Diego against 9-0, Betty Switch of the Philadelphia Hooligans.
Mr. Dick pushing his way up to the front of the pack. Does get through on the inside. Lead jam Aftershocks. Betty Switch now out of the pack, not to be denied. Will be trying to close up that gap. Whoa! Big hit there by Numchuck on Mr. Dick. That's not going to slow him down much, though. He's going to get through for 4 points before calling off the jam, holding the Hooligans down to 0. Aftershocks chipping away at the Hooligans' lead. Now 10 points separating these teams as we line up for jam number 9. Will be a 4-3 pack advantage in favor of the Hooligans. San Diego with their pivot in the box.
This is our first time seeing Quasimodo, number 2-3, as a jammer for the San Diego Aftershocks. Number 25, a familiar sight at that jam line. That is Uncle Dad.
Quasimodo through to take lead jam for the Aftershocks. Uncle Dad is hot on his heels.
This entire pack starting to speed up. Protect every point they can. Looks like 1 point went to white just before leaving the track on the outside and calling that off.
Points well protected there by the Aftershocks. once again continuing to chip into that Philadelphia lead.
It's 3 jams in a row where Philadelphia has had a positive ratio over, San Diego's had a positive ratio over Philadelphia. Philadelphia had no points so far in the last 3 jams.
Lining up for Jam 10, it's going to be Betty Switch on the line for Philadelphia against Dirty 5 for San Diego. And San Diego taking another lead jam as Dirty 5 breaks through the inside. Back block penalty assessed against number 333 for San Diego. That's True Blocka. So the jam is called, so San Diego will start the first 30 seconds down a blocker.
They managed to pick up 3 points at the end of that jam, but that quick call to protect those points has sacrificed 1 blocker. (6'9", Mr. Dick versus 2'5", Uncle Dad. Uncle Dad looking for that open inside line. That is success. Lead goes to Philadelphia. This is their first lead since Jam 6. Hit to the outside by 1-1-3-4 Just Dave.
Mr. Dick cutting back into the track through. That will complete his initial pass. Uncle Dad with 4 points, going to call off the jam as Mr. Dick approaches the pack. Will deny any points to San Diego. 4 up for the Hooligans.
No points gained, no points given up. Want more information on the WFTDA Continental Cups or their hosts? Visit WFTDA.com/cups.
Lining up on the Derby Warehouse jammer line, Quasimodo wears the star for San Diego in white. Betty Switch, lead jammer for the Hooligans in the black. Quasimodo trying to get through on the inside, will push aside number 25 for the Hooligans, Uncle Dad. Betty Switch throwing herself into the pack and calling off the jam. Will pick up 3, holds San Diego down to 0. The score stands at San Diego 29, Philadelphia 42. Just under 17 minutes remain to play in the first half. Number 34, Dirty 5, wears the star for San Diego up against number 25, Uncle Dad for the Hooligans.
Last time we saw these two jam against each other, number 3-4, Dirty 5, managed to get lead, had to call that jam quickly with only 2 points picked up. Is lead once again.
Hooligans are going to lose their blocker Soulless Samurai to the box on a multiplayer block and a high block penalty now going to Uncle Dad. So power jam for San Diego. Dirty 5 rounds the pack. 4 more points for San Diego. Very fast, effective offense being played here by San Diego, helping break up the Hooligans' walls. However, at the last moment, believe that was General SoFine throwing Dirty 5 into the inside. Not going to be able to waylay Dirty 5 forever, though. That's 4 more points up for San Diego. And all of a sudden, Ricardo, we've got a 1-point game.
Uncle Dad back on the track from the penalty box. Completed a 4-point pass in that last one. That changes our lead. We have San Diego at 45, Philadelphia at 42.
Multiplayer block being assessed to San Diego skater. That's number 5, Boo. That jam will be called. Big jam for San Diego, 20 points, switching the lead up. Philadelphia held down to 0. Score stands at Hooligans 42, Aftershocks 49.
That is the highest scoring jam so far in this game, beating out that early high score of 16 points. That was 20 points scored by San Diego in that last jam.
So San Diego will start with one blocker in the box while Philadelphia is at full strength. Betty switch jams for the Hooligans, and Mr. Dick is your lead jammer for the Aftershocks. Mr. Dick with a nice juke to the outside, pushes by Numchuck to pick up 4 more points.
Betty switch gets past Culture Shock on the inside, completes that initial pass for Philadelphia.
The call off there will result in San Diego picking up 8 points. Philadelphia down to 0. So Aftershocks starting to push out this lead as we enter the second half of the first half. Both teams will enter Jan 15 at full strength.
That's Quasimodo jamming in white for San Diego. Uncle Dad in black for Philadelphia. Number 5'8", Schuler hit to the inside, down for a second, but back in the game. Numchucks takes a seat in the penalty box.
Quasimodo fighting his way back up to the front of the pack, picks up 4 points.
Initial is completed for Uncle Dad.
That will force the call off from the Aftershocks, so a 4-0 jam. Starting off this jam, one blocker in the box for each team. It's a slightly diminished pack out there as Betty Switch takes the line for Philly. And currently number 34, Dirty 5 on the line for the Aftershocks, but we are going into an official timeout.
So you've seen a switch in the momentum in this game. Up until Jam 13, Philadelphia had really owned this game with the points, but there was a big change there with that 20-point jam there at Jam 13 for San Diego. That turned the tide. San Diego has owned the lead then, points-wise anyways, for the last 3 jams, denying points at all to Philadelphia. With that momentum change, we might be seeing the effects of Philadelphia having so few skaters on the track, some fatigue weighing into that, and this is not the first game this weekend for either of these teams.
No, not at all. And Philadelphia did play a game yesterday against Bridgetown as well. Aftershocks only have played their first game of the weekend today against Puget.
So 2 games in one day is very tiring as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the teams that both of these teams played are no slouch. So Denver ranked, let me double check that. That's going to be Denver ranked number 11 in MRDA, and the Puget Sound actually unranked, but will certainly be firing up the rankings after their showing this weekend thus far. It's both very tough games for both of these teams, very hard-hitting, draining games. So I'm mad props to both of these teams for still leaving enough in the tank to come out here and play this fast, hard-hitting derby.
And we're seeing a lot of use being made of the same jammers over and over again, particularly with Philadelphia. We seem to be going back and forth between Uncle Dad and Betty Switch. That seems to be the switch they're making there.
And we are back into the action. Quasimodo jamming for the Aftershocks. Betty Switch out for the Hooligans. And Betty Switch hops the apex to take lead jam.
Got some slow movement as we're turning that apex there.
Actually didn't have eyes on the penalty box. Quasimodo starting from the box, so a power start here for the Hooligans. But a track cut now being assessed to Betty Switch just as Quasimodo is released from the penalty box. So the power jam is on the other skate. Aftershocks in control of this jam.
Multiplayer block to black 1-1 Numchuck makes it an even number of blockers on the track right now, or sorry, weakens the number of blockers. Advantage goes to San Diego.
Hooligans making their way up to the front of the pack. Nice hit to the inside there by General So Fine, going to recycle Quasimodo.
That hit to the inside too, we saw them try to draw back that jammer. That was not allowed whatsoever. All of those other blockers got in the way, completely shut down that drawback.
So Quasimodo now through, has completed his initial pass as Betty Switch rejoins the action and completes a 4-point scoring pass.
A slow hit to the outside drops Betty Switch on the ground. Numchuck returning to the penalty box.
Quasimodo taking a little spill over Uncle Dad in turn 4. Will get through to get 4 points, though, as the jam comes to its natural 4-minute conclusion. I'm sorry, 2-minute conclusion, but there are 4 points on either side of things.
4 points. Graceful or not, all 4 of those points count.
Looks like Philadelphia will be granted 1 additional point at the end of that jam, so a 5-4 jam in favor of the Hooligans. Hooligans now using their first team timeout of the game.
We have 10 minutes of derby left here. We're already 16 jams into this, so these jams are not running terribly long on the average.
Definitely saw in the game between the Hooligans and the ground control earlier today. Lots of quick, even though the bench is shorter, but still very aggressive play getting happened. The jammers still getting through, forcing the call-offs quite early, usually only seeing 1 or 2 scoring passes each jam.
Yeah, we haven't seen very many scoring passes at all. With the anomaly of that jam 13, most of our jams are being held down to, like you said, only 1 or 2 scoring passes. An average number of points there for San Diego in the first half has been about 8. And Philadelphia, having 1 large jam back there in jam 3, has held steady with only maybe 3 or 4 points in most jams.
We'll see if this trend holds as the team timeout has expired. We are ready to get into jam 17. So the Hooligans will be starting with a single blocker in the box, Aftershocks at full strength, as they send number 35 up to jam. Hooligans sending up number 25, Uncle Dad.
Uncle Dad making a lot of lateral movement, trying to get some motion happening from that wall of white. 34-35 makes it through at the front around that apex. That is lead to San Diego. Numchuck back out of the penalty box. That's a full contingent of skaters on the track as they start to pick up speed. Uncle Dad threw for the initial pass for Philadelphia. Pivot and blocker and jammer all sitting for San Diego, leaving only 2 San Diego skaters on the track. Those 2 blockers at the front of the pack trying to hold back Uncle Dad.
Uncle Dad is able to break through on the inside. That's going to be 4 points for the Hooligans.
Lead has been lost, so this will be a 2-minute jam for us here in jam number 17.
Still only 2 blockers on the track for San Diego.
That's a culture shock out of the box, like a shot, rejoining teammate on the track. And that penalty box is empty. 5 on 5.
Dirty 5 up at the front. Reese only having 1 blocker to beat, but is forced in.
Uncle Dad with 8 points so far this jam. Big defensive jammer hit there. Number 3-4 with a hit to the outside. Pushes Uncle Dad down onto the ground. Uncle Dad taking a moment to catch his breath. That is 4 points, Dirty 5.
So as the jam ends, it's going to be 3 more points on that pass for the Hooligans. Grand total of 11 for them and 4 for the Aftershocks. Brings our total to Philadelphia 58, San Diego 69.
Both of these teams are keeping pretty close in their scores. We're seeing that start to edge up again by Philadelphia. We've got an 11-point game that could easily be managed in one jam.
Absolutely. Things staying nice and tight here in this game as we go into jam 18. Both teams are at full strength as Mr. Dick takes to the Derby Warehouse jammer line against Betty Switch for the Hooligans. And Mr. Dick assessed lead jam. Aftershocks will lose a blocker to the box as Betty Switch completes her initial pass. Hooligans are going to lose Uncle Dad to the penalty box on a multiplayer block. Mr. Dick completing his scoring pass, going to pick up 4 points for the jam, holding Philadelphia down to 0.
That forces the hand of Philadelphia as we go into this next jam. This will be the first time we've seen a new jammer so far this game. That's number 11, Numchuck, who we saw in the penalty box twice in a previous jam. This time, that is lead for Numchuck. They're jamming against Quasimodo from San Diego. Quasimodo, number 2-3, has completed his initial pass.
Nice juke to the outside, dancing on the toe stops by Numchuck. Calling off the jam, picks up 4 points, does manage to hold the Aftershocks down to 0.
That's maintaining that 11-point spread that we saw from 2 jams ago.
Very exciting game unfolding in front of us here, Regrettal. We have got jam 20 with 6 minutes left on the clock. Both pivots are in the box. Mr. Dick on the Derby Warehouse jammer line up against Numchuck.
That's back-to-back jams for Numchuck. Little bit of work to get around number 415, Bad Billy. Lead does go to number 11 in black. That lead is held on to, points denied from either team in that jam. This is only the second time we've had a jam with no points whatsoever.
Hooligans were able to allow the jam to run long enough to spring their pivot from the box. San Diego will still be down their pivot to start this jam. Team timeout now being called for by the Aftershocks. Will freeze the clock at 5 minutes and 13 seconds.
We got to see a little bit of a change there in the last couple of jams from Philadelphia. So far, we had seen a lot of back and forth there between 25 Uncle Dad and 9-0 Betty Switch. We got Numchuck in the mix there for those last 2 jams, successfully getting lead on both of those, maintaining that point spread at where it had been.
Definitely a good idea to, since this is going to be a bit of a... It's a game of stamina for this one. So any breaks that Philadelphia can give for their jamming core is going to be helpful.
That's exactly right. With Numchuck having played those last 2 jams, that's given the opportunity for 3 jams worth of break for the regular jammers.
So after that timeout, looks like it will be Uncle Dad back up to jam for the Hooligans. Aftershocks sending up number 34, Dirty 5.
Now, we haven't seen a pivot line start so far in this jam. This is a new strategy we're seeing come into play here at jam 21.
And Uncle Dad through on the inside, going to take lead jam for the Hooligans. Aftershocks losing number 300. That's Kilkenny Falcon to the penalty box.
Dirty Five cutting it close on that inside turn there. Manages to get ahead of Uncle Dad.
So that jam will end with Philadelphia putting up 3 points, San Diego with 0. It's going to turn this into an 8-point game.
We see Numchuck lining up at that Derby Warehouse jammer line again. That's against number 6'9", Mr. Dick. We've seen both of these jammers before. Mr. Dick takes the lead this time. This is the first lead in 5 jams for San Diego.
Mr. Dick putting on the afterburners as the pack picks up speed around turns 3 and 4. Bodies tumbling, and the jam will be called. 2 points San Diego, 1 Philadelphia.
Edging up bit by bit.
Score correction now. That was actually a 2-2 jam. So score wash for jam 22.
We're holding at 8 points separating. Now, it's been a while since we've seen Culture Shock as a jammer, but that's who we have out there in white against Betty Switch in black.
So a forearm penalty is going to send Culture Shock to the penalty box. Power jam for Betty Switch and the Hooligans as Betty Switch claims lead jam.
Betty Switch with quite the pack advantage in her favor. We've got 3 white players in the penalty box right now. That lead narrowed to just 4 points as Betty Switch starts their second scoring pass.
Culture Shock trying to take the outside line, getting nice and low, but ends up spinning out to the outside. Going to have to recycle back behind Numchuck.
With that scoring pass, Betty Switch brings this to a tie game. We've got Culture Shock at the front of the pack looking to complete the first scoring pass. Oh no, that's initial pass still. Initial completed for San Diego. Betty Switch on the third scoring pass calls that off, bringing Philadelphia into the lead. That is our second lead change in this game. Your current score, 75 San Diego, 79 Philadelphia.
So we're going to line up for jam number 24, possibly the final jam of this half. So we do have a team timeout being called for by the Aftershocks. So that'll freeze the clock at 1 minute and 31 seconds remaining in the half. Now, I'm not entirely sure what happened. We're going to have to check on this at the half to bring you the full details. But at the end of jam 22, number 25 for the Hooligans, Uncle Dad was led away from the track and is no longer on the bench.
That's right. We saw him leave on the outside there of turn 4. That's where he left the track, crawling off the track. So that indicates there might be some injury situation. I'm sure we'll find out more to be able to share with the fans listening at home. Eugene, Cascades, and Coast. Real adventure, real close. Plan your Oregon vacation at Eugene, Cascades, and Coast.
Thank you so much to Eugene, Cass, and Coast for sponsoring Big O 2019. We wouldn't be able to keep it rolling without you. So team timeout has run out. We are lining up for jam 24. Got a single blocker sitting in the box for the Hooligans, one standing for the Aftershocks. As Betty Switch takes the line up against, that is Mr. Dick.
This is back-to-back jams for Betty Switch. Mr. Dick through as your lead for San Diego. Betty Switch completes the initial pass. Both jammers eligible for points at this time.
Nice absorbing the hit by Mr. Dick. So I believe that was General So Fine trying to take him to the outside, but Mr. Dick just able to stay on the in.
So first scoring pass got 4 points to Mr. Dick. 3 points went to Betty Switch. That kept the lead in favor of San Diego. Another 4 points on that last scoring point pass to San Diego extends that lead. Looks a lot closer on the screen than I expected there, Rich.
That it does.
A 1 point lead.
Yeah, that's right. 83-82 as we line up for what will be the final jam of this half. Jam number 25. Got Numchuck on the line for the Hooligans up against Culture Shock for the Aftershocks. And lead jam assessed to Numchucks and the Hooligans. Culture Shock firing through the pack will be able to score points.
That gives us 4 points to Black. Changes the lead as we end this first half. Your current score, San Diego 83, Philadelphia 86.
Wow. Ricardo, what an incredible first half we have seen to this game. Both teams putting up so much great plays in action. I can't believe all of the energy we're seeing off the track.
I'm really blown away by what we're seeing from the Jammers of Philadelphia. Really just trading back and forth between two primary jammers the entire time. We're going to see some change going into the second half. We had seen number 2-5, Uncle Dad, doing most of those jams. Uncle Dad having left the track a few jams back.
So Uncle Dad actually came back to the bench just at the end of that last jam, so it looks like he will be in the second half for the Hooligans.
I look forward to seeing how that gets utilized because that's been their go-to move so far is to go back and forth between those two jammers. Absolutely. We may see some new jammers in the rotation. We may see some new strategy on the track then.
Well, we're going to have to wait to find out. We've got just about 8 minutes until we get into this second half, so go take a moment, get yourself some water, have a little break, stretch your legs, but make sure you're back to get here into the second half of the Philadelphia Hooligans taking on the San Diego Aftershocks.
See you here, Rich.
Right, we are back, friends, here for the second half of the San Diego Aftershocks taking on the Philadelphia Hooligans. I'm Rich Mahogany.
I am Regrettal.
And we've got quite the game on our hands here, Regrettal. Philadelphia currently in the lead by 3 points, 86-83.
We've seen a few lead chains go on throughout this game. Early on, we saw the Hooligans moving ahead, but boy, did that ever catch up back in Jam 13. And then it's been back and forth, back and forth. We can see a display here on your screen. I think you folks at home can see that, where you can see in favor who's picked up the points and who's dropped them, basically, in this same screen. You can see 20 points there in one jam to San Diego versus the 16 points there back in jam number 3 for Philadelphia.
That's right. So Philadelphia seeing some fairly consistent point performance throughout the course of that first half, whereas we're seeing a little bit more of spurts for San Diego. So talking a little bit about penalties, we do have a single skater or two skaters who are close to penalties, or close to falling out. We've got number 11 for the Hooligans, Numchuck with 6. And over on the side of the San Diego Aftershocks, True Blocka has 5. We've got then Culture Shock with 4 for the Aftershocks. Nobody else really coming close to fouling out, or danger of falling out.
That's right. The Aftershocks are higher in penalties overall. They've got 22 penalties in that first half. The Hooligans having only 14. But the Aftershocks have really spread those penalties out. There's usually 2-3 penalties to someone. So those are adding up. They're being a little bit weaker on the track from it, but they're spread out, so less skaters are in danger.
So as we line up for this first jam of the second half, see a single blocker in the box for the Aftershocks. Philadelphia out there with a full force of blockers. We're going to see Numchuck taking on Mr. Dick. And Numchuck on the outside takes lead jam for the Hooligans.
Mr. Dick still in the pack. That's an initial completed by Mr. Dick, while Numchuck is picking up points for Philadelphia.
So a quick call off there for San Diego will give a quick call off there by Philadelphia will give San Diego 1 point to Philadelphia's 0. So not enough time elapsed there to allow the San Diego blocker. I believe that's number 33 in the box. No, that can't be 33.
Well, it is a skater in the box as we start with number 90, Betty Switch in black for Philadelphia. Number 34, Dirty 5 in white for San Diego. Our lead this jam is Betty Switch, and that is 3-3-3 back on the track. True Blocka for San Diego.
True Blocka with a beautiful hip check to the inside, sending Betty Switch back to the front of turn 1. Dirty 5 threatening points, so the jam will be called. 0 points up for the Aftershocks. We're going to wait for confirmation for the Hooligans. That's 1 point. So a little bit of a score swap there. So now score stands Philadelphia 87, San Diego 84. And we line up for jam number 3.
You see Betty Switch just skating back around to that jam line, playing back-to-back jams again. That is against number 69, Mr. Dick. Mr. Dick sees his opportunity with a hit to the pivot on that outside line. Is lead for San Diego.
Mr. Dick going to be forced to recycle back behind number 58, Schuler, for the Hooligans.
Both jammers recycling right now. Betty Switch still looking for an initial pass to complete. Mr. Dick makes it past that down skater, 5'8", Schuler on the inside. That is 4 points to San Diego.
Betty Switch forced to the inside, now going to recycle back behind number 3 for San Diego. That's Culture Shock. As Mr. Dick comes around the pack again for 4 more points, and we've got a lead change.
Second scoring pass for San Diego as Betty Switch completes the initial pass. Little bit of guidance comes from the bench, sends Mr. Dick for another trip around the track.
And Mr. Dick on the inside line will pick up 4 more points. That brings San Diego up to a score of 100. And a track cut penalty now assessed to Betty Switch, taking her to the penalty box. So power jam San Diego.
We've only got about 20 seconds left on the clock when Betty Switch took a seat in the penalty box. That is going to force a power start when we go into our next jam. That last scoring pass takes that to a 24-point jam there for Mr. Dick. That is ahead of our high-scoring jams in the first half. In the first half, we saw 16 points go to Betty Switch of the Hooligans, and 20 points go to Dirty 5 of the Aftershocks. That changes our lead. We now have a lead, our high-scoring jammer now is Mr. Dick.
So Hooligans now calling for a team timeout. That'll leave them with 1 more team timeout and their official review remaining for this game. So towards the end of that jam, we started to see a number of the Hooligans skaters start to peel off and take themselves off the track. Towards the end of the jam, there were only 2 blockers out for the Hooligans, but none in the box. So fatigue really starting to set in here. So wise use of clock stoppage going to be key for the Hooligans to stay in this game.
One strategy we haven't seen very much of at all in this game, Rich, is star passes from our jammers to our pivots.
Right, you are. A lot of the jammers still relying on their own power to get through rather than passing that star over the wall. Not a bad idea, as these walls have been very, very good at staying on top of the other blockers and recycling.
That's right, and we've seen really tight jammer rotations too, which means there's not really a lot of opportunity for fresh feet on the track. So those people that are out as jammers are pivots, are primarily there as blockers.
So we have now transitioned into an official timeout. We'll bring you any details as we receive them. But for those of you keeping track of things on social media, I'd like to encourage you to use the hashtag BigO2019 in all your tournament posts this weekend. If you're here in the venue, go take a shot in front of our Big O photo screen. Make sure you're sharing those on social media using that hashtag. And if you're at home, not only can you use BigO2019 as that hashtag, but you can get your pets in on the action by using Big O Cats and Big O Dogs for sharing your furry fans out there.
Now, I've heard some debate about what to do if you have alternative pets, your lizards or your rats. I think just still send them to the hashtag BigO2019.
Absolutely.
We'll still see them. The fans will love them. Everybody at Big O will still get to enjoy all those different fan types. The Big O is brought to you in part by the acclaimed Rydell Solaris. Solaris, the performance you demand, the comfort you've been missing.
So we see the Hooligans having a conversation at their bench here, trying to figure out how we're going to proceed. So Schuler there putting on the stripe. So either just looking to be really fashionable, or we're going to keep going here. Looks like that's what's going to happen. We are sending our teams out to the track. All right, so it looks like we are ready to get back into the action for Jam 4 of the second half. Hooligans will start with their jammer, Betty Switch, in the box. So power start here for San Diego. And we are already into the action.
That's Quasimodo through the pack, but a lot of officials looking at him like they're not sure why he's doing that yet. Probably because we haven't seen our jam timer yell 5 seconds and blow a whistle.
Yep, technically still in an official timeout here. So skaters psyching all of us out here. There's the 5 seconds. We are ready to go. Number 23, Quasimodo, wearing the star for San Diego. And lead jam assessed to Quasimodo as Betty Switch emerges from the pack, or from the penalty box. Now engaging with the pack.
That is initial pass completed for Philadelphia. 4 points in the air for San Diego.
So low block penalty assessed to San Diego blocker. That's number 333, True Blocka.
That may be in danger of being penalty number 7 for Trublaka.
It may indeed. We'll find out in just a few seconds here. But a 4-4 jam to wrap up jam number 4. Cilantro taking the line for the first time for this game for the Hooligans, number 109, out against number 34 for the Aftershocks. That's Dirty 5.
We see Betty Switch stay on the track as pivot, though. That is a good strategy, wanting somebody there that is used to jamming. But Cilantro is out of that pack fast.
Cilantro coming up with the back of the pack, going to do a quick call off, does pick up a single point. That'll make this a 19-point game. I'm sorry, change isn't up. That's 2 points on that jam. So 95 Philadelphia, 112 San Diego. 4-3 pack advantage in favor of the Hooligans. Cilantro back on the line for the Hooligans up against Mr. Dick for the Aftershocks.
Mr. Dick lead for this jam.
Cilantro, though, out hot on his heels. Trying out those fresh jammer legs. Nice apex jump. Will not land it, though. Going to be forced to recycle back into the beginning of turn 1 as Mr. Dick is through for 4 points and looking for more.
Right now, this jam is based on the speed of those two jammers.
General So Fine trying to get up in the way of Mr. Dick, but Mr. Dick will get around 4 more points.
Mr. Dick ahead by 2 scoring passes. This is a 12-4 jam at the moment. That widens to 3 scoring passes, 16-4 in this 6th jam of the second half.
Cilantro working his way past Culture Shock will pick up 4 points on that pass. Mr. Dick picking up 4 more of his own will make this an 8-20 jam thus far.
Both lines getting solid with a hit to the outside there. 1-1-3 in white. Just 1-1-3-4. Just Dave removes that extra blocker.
Aftershock wall holding firm, not allowing Cilantro any daylight on the inside or the out, but Mr. Dick's just going to slide on through. 4 points for San Diego.
These high-scoring jams are really swinging the tide in this second half. We saw 20 points go on the board back in Jam 3 for San Diego. 28 points in this past jam there for Mr. Dick.
Both teams are going to be at full strength as we line up for Jam 7 of the second half. Number 300 for the Aftershocks out there, Kilkennium Falcon up against Betty Switch for the Hooligans. And Kenny through on the outside, skating backwards through the apex. Going to take lead jam for the Aftershocks.
It has been a while since we've seen Kenny M. Falcon on the track as a jammer. We haven't seen that since Jam 6. That is a forearm penalty, taking Kenny M. Falcon to the penalty box, making this a power jam. That is Betty Switch who has control now.
Betty Switch at the front with 2 to beat. See Dirty 5 up there along with True Blocka. And number 3, Culture Shock, doing what they can to hold her back. They will force her to the outside. Going to recycle her all the way back into the second straightaway. Kilkennium Falcon now back on the track, looking to do some damage. Going to have to get by the full blocking force of the Hooligans to do it, though. Will break through on the outside with a nice little spin move. 4 points for the Aftershocks.
That is a successful star pass from Betty Switch. Our now active jammer is 109 Cilantro. That is our first star pass of this game.
So that will be Cilantro's initial pass that's completed. No points on that one. As Kilkennium Falcon threw for 4 more of his own.
Cilantro slowing back at the back of the pack, doing some defensive work. Just as that jam is called off, we get 2 points awarded to Philadelphia.
Penalty box does stand empty as we line up on the Derby Warehouse jammer line. But we're going to have a moment for an official timeout.
Our officials just conferring about those points at the end of the jam.
So speaking of Derby Warehouse, I'd like to encourage everybody to visit derbywarehouse.com for all of your Derby gear needs with shipping or free shipping and free returns.
So that score adjusted a little bit during that official timeout. We ended up with 6 points on the board for Philadelphia. Your score as we go into jam number 8 of this second half is 109 to Philadelphia, 152 San Diego. That is, sorry.
No, all you.
2-3 Quasimodo in white for San Diego. Betty Switch number 9-0 in black for Philadelphia. Betty Switch on the ground at the back of the pack. Quasimodo hit to the outside and recycled. Betty Switch gets a cutting the track penalty. That leaves opportunity for lead open to Quasimodo. Quasimodo gets a forearm. There will be a jammer do-si-do in the penalty box. Immediately, Betty Switch is released from the penalty box. Sitting only a few seconds, Quasimodo is back out right behind Betty Switch. There will be no lead this jam. This jam will go a full minute, but we only have about 1:15 of it left. We saw one jam in the first half where we also lost the opportunity for lead to penalties. This is only the second time so far in this game where we will have no actual lead.
Pack really digging in on that second straightaway. Quasimodo will find his way through on the inside, but picks up a track cut on the way. Power jam Hooligans.
We have no lead. As that jammer sat, we were looking at about 48 seconds left in this jam. So we will have Quasimodo back on the track before the end of this. Right now, Betty Switch just looking to make some movement and get any points in this pass.
So Sola Samurai with a nice hit on the Aftershock blocker there, opening up the line. But we got a star pass now. Cilantro dons the star for the Hooligans right as Quasimodo is released from the penalty box.
That's our second star pass, and both of those star passes have gone to Cilantro.
So the jam time will expire. A 2-minute jam and only a single point put up. That point going to the Philadelphia Hooligans.
That jam was a grind. On the outside there at turn 3, we saw Betty Switch just standing on her toes on that line, trying desperately to force her way back in.
Taking a momentary official timeout here. We'll see what's going to be coming about from this. Looks like the Hooligans heading back to the bench. Aftershocks heading there as well.
We see Betty Switch taking a seat in that penalty box with that jammer helmet cover in hand. Jammer helmet cover has been returned to the team. It looks like that star pass will be considered to have been completed.
So I'd like to remind everybody, if you are interacting on social media, please use that hashtag BigO2019 with all your tournament posts. We'd love to see what you're saying, the pictures you're taking, your thoughts, your feelings. Please tell us. So official timeout has been concluded. We are going to see Cilantro taking the line for the Hooligans. And that's Mr. Dick on the line for the Aftershocks. Low block assessed to number 3 for the Aftershocks. That's Culture Shock, as Mr. Dick claims lead jam for the Aftershocks. Cilantro also working his way through the pack, now eligible to score points. Mr. Dick around the outside, untouched, will pick up 4 points.
Cilantro facing a little bit of opposition there as he tries to get around the outside of that. His own blocker in the way, that pushes him out and ends up behind the pack again. Betty switch back in the pack from the penalty box. Penalty box currently only has white pivot in it.
Mr. Dick emerges from the pack, will have 4 more points on that pass. And Cilantro threw for 4 of his own. Hooligans trying to stay together at the pack, but some great offense coming in for the Aftershocks will break that wall up. 4 more points up for the Aftershocks as Cilantro tries to make his way through the wall. Fancy footwork will see Cilantro on the other side of that wall. 4 more points for the Hooligans.
This pack is standing at the pivot line. Everybody moving quite slowly. It's just a short shoulder jolt there that takes jammer Cilantro to the ground and to the inside. Recycles back around behind number 3. That is Culture Shock.
So Culture Shock heading to the penalty box again right at the end of that jam. Jam does get called. Looking at an 8-16 jam in favor of the Aftershocks brings our score to Philadelphia 118, San Diego 168 as we go into an official timeout, stopping the clock at 14 minutes and 14 seconds.
Score now starting to wend its way further apart, Rich. As we were talking about back at the beginning of this game, we saw the teams start out ranked quite far, well, not terribly far apart, but a difference there. We saw Philadelphia came in at 12, San Diego comes in at 16. Philadelphia being the stronger team overall. We took a look at our numbers, seeing that there was only 8 skaters to start with, and we're discussing between us if that would start to be a factor in exhaustion as we go through this game. As we see this point spread starting to get further and further and further apart, we're looking at some really tired skaters from both sides of the track, but just so much more skaters to pull from on the San Diego side.
Absolutely. Playing games of this caliber, really so exhausting. And just a lot of respect for both of these teams. And it looks like the game actually will be called early. So big thank you to our official here, Kieran Duncan, head official for this game, come over and informing us that the Hooligans do not have enough skaters that are fit to skate to pull up a full lineup, so they will have to forfeit the remainder of this game. What an amazing fight put up by both of these teams. It is just, I'm so impressed with the athleticism and sheer grit that we saw out on display for this game, Regrettal.
The amount of strength it took for those jammers to go back-to-back jams or to just rotate just between the two of them, we could see the effort on their faces as they were working through that. As some of these jams were going on, you and I could feel the energy between us of how is this continuing? How are these skaters having the stamina to pull this off?
Absolutely. Just the sheer force of will is really just truly inspiring, and it has been a privilege to be able to call this game.
I've really enjoyed working with you on this today, Rich. Our final score at the end, as it stands, is Philadelphia Hooligans 118 points to San Diego's 168.
So let's give a big round of applause for both of these teams, the San Diego Aftershocks and the Philadelphia Hooligans, putting on a great contest for us here on Track 3 of Big O 2019. That will mean we are just about done here for the day on Track 3.
Your next opportunity to see Derby on Track 3 tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. All games start tomorrow, or 2 games start tomorrow morning at 10. So this is your opportunity to get a rest in and see us back on the screens tomorrow.
That's right. So thank you all very much for joining us here on Track 3 for Big O 2019. I'm Rich Mahogany.
I'm Regrettal.
And we'll be seeing you tomorrow.